Hi, everybody. Welcome to Montana's Peer Network, Facebook Live. This is our third live that we've done, and we are glad that you guys are all tuning in and sharing this and commenting and getting involved with our Facebook Lives. Today, we're going to be talking about our best recovery moments. And we would love to hear from you as Bill and I. Bill, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Bill Devel. I am a recovery coach at Montana's Peer Network, going in MCDC.
Great, thank you. And then I'm Ashley McLean, and I work as a recovery coach supervisor for Montana's Peer Network. But as we're going back and forth on this live today, please comment and share your best recovery moments with us. And throughout this broadcast, we'll answer questions or acknowledge your best recovery moments. So we're just going to jump right into it. Like, I think in the light of all of this negativity going on in the world, it's nice for us to kind of change that dialogue to what was good about your recovery, what's good about your journey. And man, I have so many. And what about you, Bill?
So I have a couple that pop right up in mind, but probably the one that I want to talk about the most is where my recovery journey kind of began. I had gotten arrested. I had been to jail for about 3 or 4 months. I was court ordered to do mental health treatment. I was court ordered to do 12-step meetings. I was a client of DOC. I had to do UAs once a week. And this was about 9 or 10 months into that whole system. I can remember just wanting to get through the system. I didn't have any type of inclination that I was going to stay in recovery. I just needed to do this because this is what I was told, and I didn't want to get any more trouble. There's one more thing I wanted to add to all that. So I got charges in 2 counties, both felony counts, and they offered me drug court in each county, and I refused it because it was a strict program, and I didn't think I was going to stay in recovery. And hindsight's 2020. If I'm still in recovery, I mean, that would have been a really good program for me to be a part of.
Yeah.
And I just didn't see it. So here's kind of the setting. Every Wednesday, I have to go check in with my probation officer. I have to give a UA. And so we're 9 or 10 months into this every Wednesday type routine. 36 years old, living with mom and dad, no driver's license. And so my mom takes me to all my appointments. And it was just any other Wednesday. She drove me down. I checked in. I did my UA. And as I was walking out of the probation office and going to the parking lot, seeing my mom in the car, reading her book, something came over me. And for the first time, I asked myself, why not recover? And so, first time in my entire life that I was consciously aware and that question came to the forefront of my mind. And that was really the beginning of my recovery journey. I had 2 or 3 appointments a week at my mental health clinic, was going to 3 or 4 NA meetings, and all of a sudden, I started seeing similarities rather than differences. I started seeing how it could work rather than why it wouldn't work. And so, my mind had shifted just enough for me to see things that I had never seen before. And for me, that was instrumental in the beginning of my recovery, for me to even begin to think that there was hope. And so for me, that's really where it began, because I was just going through the motions, getting my slip sign at the 12-step meetings, doing the suggestions that my mental health providers made to me, because that's what I was court ordered to do. And I wanted to get out of the system as fast as I could so I could resume my way of living.
Yeah.
I'm so thankful that there was a lot of different combinations that happened for that one moment to happen so that I could begin a recovery journey. So that's one of the moments that I wanted to share about and talk about, because until then I had no hope. I had no reason to think that there was any different way of living than the way that I'd been living for the past 15 years. And thank God for DOC. So that's
Yeah.
my first moment.
Yeah, that's a great story. And it looks like we have Jim who had just joined us. Do you want to introduce yourself, Jim?
Hello, everybody. Jim Haney here. Sorry, I got hung up on a meeting that just seemed to last a long time. So I couldn't stop. It just wasn't appropriate for me to, let's say, hey, I need to get off this call. We've been on the phone for a while. But it was all good. It was really good, important stuff. So
nice.
Sorry, I am late. I just caught the end of your recovery, best recovery moment there, Bill. That was very good.
Yeah, and so we're just kind of, sharing our best recovery moments. Like I think about mine, and it's kind of similar to Bill's. It had to do with my family, and I love what Bill said about hindsight being 20/20, because at the time I didn't celebrate what had happened in my life as like this best moment, this changing moment in my recovery. But my family basically quit enabling me, right? For so many years, they had enabled me, and they had bailed me out of jail, and they had, softened my blows when I would fall, so it wasn't as hard. And they were done. They were done doing that. And to me, that was one of the best moments that kind of jump-started my recovery journey, because I didn't have anybody else that I could burn that bridge with. And all of my bridges were burned. And so I, since they've done that, I've been in recovery since. I have not looked back in recovery. And so that's one of the highlights is my family saying, no more, we're not going to enable you anymore. You need to figure this out. And because we're done trying to figure it out for you. And it helped me. Like, I didn't see it that way at the time, but now, so many years later, I definitely see that as one of my best moments.
I can relate to that as well too, because my parents, it took me a while once they finally were like, okay, enough's enough. It took me another year and a half
changing moment in my recovery, but
come to grips with that. And I was so mad at him. Oh my gosh. It was like, are you kidding me? I'm your son.
You don't love me.
How could you do that? What are you? I mean, no, I threw the biggest adult fit, still trying to manipulate and con and all the stuff we do. So.
Cool. Yeah, I think of so many different moments along the way. I mean, it's hard to think of like the best, like what is the best. I mean, one of the things that I incorporated early on was celebrating milestones. So and really trying to do something significant. So example, when I got, I think it was my 2-year, pretty sure it was my 2-year. I could look up the date, but I think it was my 2-year. I had saved money to buy this acoustic electric guitar. So my goal was, stay in recovery, and then when you get to your 2-year, because on my 1 year, I bought myself a watch. And it's funny because today I'm not a watch wearer, but back then it had some sort of significance of I was put together enough to wear a watch for some reason. Like that was sort of the way you know what I mean? So it was like, okay, when I get to my 1 year, I'm going to buy myself a watch. And I got it engraved on the back. And I still have the watch today. And then my 2-year, I got this guitar that I had been looking at in the store, because it was sort of like the watch, the guitar, it's like symbolic in your recovery, because you're, able to work a job a little bit, right? Like I worked, part-time at first, so you got to save a little money. And then, anyway, just these moments sort of moving along, those are really big moments. And I still have the guitar, I still have the watch, and very significant. And when I pause and think about it, or, open up my jewelry box and see, oh, there's this watch. Oh yeah, that watch, and you can look at the engraving. Those are really special moments, and they sort of mark that, but it also gave me something to work towards. It was more than just being in recovery. I had to save the money and, those kinds of things. So I think that's definitely big. And then just the people, the places, when I think back, right, people who said something or did something. I can remember being in the hospital, being hospitalized, and sitting in the big group room, the common space, right? And there were windows, say, on this side, and I'm sitting there, and I'm alone, because everyone else is down the hall at group, and I'm here because I'm ticked off, angry, wrapped up in my own illness. I don't want to go to group. Screw those guys, right? But I can hear them down the hall, and they're not sad, they're not crying. I can hear laughter, and I can hear, I can't quite hear every word, but I can hear positive. And I'm sitting there, and I remember the sunlight coming in through the window. How like a cloud shifts across the sun, and the light goes from light to dark to light. And it shined in on this chair, this empty chair. And I was like, damn, you're not in the sunshine again. And that kind of resonated with me for a minute. And then I hear the laughter, and I thought, well, you could be sitting in the sunshine. All you got to do is get your ass up and go sit in the other chair. And then for the first time, it occurred to me, it's my choice.
Right.
And that was a big turning point in this is my choice. I chose this chair. The sun is there. I chose not to be in the group. They're there. I'm here. They're getting recovery. I'm not. The sunlight is there. I'm in the dark. That was a big moment for me, that stuck with me for years. Choices. Make good choices, Jim. Think about your choices. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great point. Like I started, like when you were talking, Jim, I started thinking about another moment in my recovery where, early recovery, you're super serious, right? Like nothing is funny. And, like I'm just angry, and like you have to deal with all of these emotions. And I remember the moment, and it was a milestone in my recovery. But I remember the moment. So this group of people that I had surrounded myself as support for my recovery, they really didn't take themselves really seriously, right? They took recovery very seriously, but they didn't take themselves very seriously. And I was like, how do you do that? You know what I mean? Like, and I remember the moment when I was able to do that. It was I think it was like year 2 or year 3, and so they would get together and we would have this gathering, and you would have to wear this old miner's helmet, right? So you have to be goofy to wear this old miner's helmet, right? And everybody who wore the helmet had to sign it, right, with their milestone, and you basically got roasted, right? It was like a support group roast, right? They roasted you, and I remember not feeling like it's this personal attack on me, like the things that they were saying, because roast can get a little bit like, hairy sometimes. And and I remember just completely enjoying myself and just like laughing and enjoying it, and like, you know what I mean? And then at the end of this, you get the chance to be able to roast everyone back, and like being able to come up with stuff and not being angry or being in the moment of it. And it was one of the best times I've ever had in my recovery. I have these people who love and support me around me who are roasting me, and I'm able to take it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to take it and not take myself so seriously. This is just for fun. And that was a really cool moment, and one of my best moments, because throughout my recovery journey since then, like, I don't take myself too seriously. I insist on enjoying myself, but I do take recovery seriously.
That's great.
One of the things that I kind of wanted to add to that, and it's kind of similar to Ashley's, is moving forward in my recovery. The last time I spoke about my first moment, I talked about how my mind kind of shifted. So I saw things in a different light. So I kind of want to add to this, and this is maybe not a happy moment, but it was a big realization. So in the beginning of our recovery, where it's a selfish program, we need to think about ourselves, and we need to make sure that we have boundaries, and on and on and on. And so for like the first 3.5 years of my recovery, all I thought about was me and how to move my recovery forward. I can remember I had a super supportive family, and I chaired a 12-step meeting every Saturday. And my mom and dad would take me and stay at the meeting with me. Anyways, we're driving down to the meeting, and this light bulb goes off. And I had already made some amends, and I had realized that I had taken grandparenthood away from my parents due to the choices that I had made. And I got all choked up because I was just thinking about it. I was in the back seat, mom and dad are in the front, and I had to say, Mom, Dad, my choices caused you not to be able to be grandparents to my kids. And how do you feel? What do you think about that? And they paused, and, we had that discussion. And so that whole moment for me shifted my thinking again to where I was able to see outside of myself and realize that my choices, kind of like Jim was talking about, affect more than just me as well. And I was able to see a broader picture of the world around me. That has moved forward in my recovery. And I think about, little decisions that I make How's this going to affect my wife? How's this going to affect my boy? How is that going to affect my recovery circle? And it holds me more accountable to values that I cherish. And so that was another moment in my recovery where my thinking was enhanced. It gave me the ability to see more than what I was able to see before. And, you know, that's not like it's a realization. I wasn't happy that I realized that I took grandparenthood away from my parents. It kind of sucked, you know, but it has brought more joy to my life because of that unfortunate moment that I realized all that. And so, you know, and stuff like that happens all throughout our recovery journey. It's just when we're going to be open-minded enough to see some of those things. And so anyways, I just thought that, you know, moving forward, I kind of wanted to share a memorable moment that maybe wasn't super exciting, but impactful.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great. For sure. For sure. That's a great story, Bill. Those moments, right, when we have clarity or we come to realizations or, those are like the next step or the next rung or the next, right? Like it helps us sort of move forward or upward or, definitely.
Yeah, there's a saying in, the path of recovery that I choose is like, some of my awakenings are of the educational variety, right? Like it's this learning thing. So yeah, I mean, that's what I thought of. I've had many of those throughout my journey. And I completely agree with what you started with, Jim, is it's hard to pinpoint a couple because it's like every situation to me is like, oh my gosh, like this is the best, you know what I mean? Like, and it just keeps getting better for us when we choose each day when we wake up that the recovery is going to be my lifestyle today.
Right. Yeah, and that what you said, I like that, and you've said that before about the lifestyle thing because it's so much more. It's so much more than medication or therapy appointments, doctor appointments. So much more than that, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So if you're just tuning in or catching the last piece of this, you can definitely go back and check out what we had to say and share on our page your best recovery moment. We'd love to hear what those are. Also, we want to continue to keep doing these Facebook Lives. So if you have any ideas of what you would like us to talk about next, please comment and share. Yeah.
Absolutely. And thanks for tuning in.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.